tell how professional Father is as he hooks up his mic.
God,
Okay, we're on. Good. How you doing? You're on Street Talk with Father Russ again. Always the professional, right? Following up the mic. Okay. Thank God for the guys behind the scene that try and help me out as I blunder through this. Thanks again, though, for showing up and seeing us. Another Thursday night. We're still on public safety issue. Again, I have Robert Zalello with me, author of When the Prisoners Ran Walpole, joint author actually. Jamie Bassinet, Ralph Ham, Robert Zalello, and Canon Ed Rodman did this book. This is a fabulous book. Everybody should get this book, When the Prisoners Ran Walpole. We've been doing a series, and hopefully our folks have been following what's going on. We've talked about everything from in prison when you started and what happened around when the prison re-entry. We talked about max section and isolation, and the last one was re-entry. And we're going to talk about, I would hope we're going to talk about the politics, right? Around corrections, what this means, what has to happen. Again, Bobby, it's great to have you with me. It's been, we go back years when I had hair. And when your hair was dark and long, and we were thin in those days.
Yes, those were the good old days.
Those were the good old days, right? Yeah. I want you're going to tell me a little bit about the policy setters of...
well, what the root of the problems are in corrections across the nation.
Right.
We have a concept that's called the National Institution of Corrections. It's a federal agency that comes under the Bureau of Prisons under the Department of Justice. And in September 1971, after the riot in Attica, New York, the prison, senators and legislators went around the country looking at the problems of prisons. It was a disaster across the nation. And the Attorney General at the time was a John Mitchell. I'm sure everybody of a certain age will remember that.
I remember the dear John, yeah.
And he had a conference on corrections in December of '71. And the National Institution was created in 1974, all right? It first received funds in 1977 as a line item to the Federal Bureau of Prisons budget. Now, the concept was not a bad idea. I mean, centralized control and training programs, information center, grant monies and stuff. But unfortunately, it also became part of the problem. In 1971-72, a sociologist by the name of Martinson made the asinine statement that rehabilitation doesn't work and all you can do is incapacitate. The Bureau of Prisons, using this clown's academic credentials, took programs out of the prison.
Yeah, we were doing good stuff at that time.
Great stuff was
doing
happening.
Fabulous stuff.
In the 70s, the recidivism rate in Massachusetts was down 25%. What ends up happening is now is programs are pulled out, and when people ask, why are you taking programs out of the prison, they cite Martinson, say rehabilitation doesn't work, all we can do is incapacitate, we're getting tough on crime. The recidivism rate across the nation went sky high.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't work. The National Institution of Corrections today has now did a 360, and what's embarrassing is they say Martinson was wrong. Well, Martinson was simply the individual who put out a flaky theory that you knew was wrong from Jump Street. It was the Bureau of Prisons that took out the program.
He put that theory out in the midst of when we were showing that they were wrong. The
Right.
punishment was wrong. We were coming up with fabulous programs.
It happened at a time when the crime rate
was going down.
Was going down.
Yeah, we would exactly.
It was a political game. That's what happened.
This is what I want our audience to understand. We were doing unbelievable things. With the EASE program, the program Winnie and Prisoners, I mentioned on another show, we had an 83% success rate. Funded by LEAA, had the community involved. Stuff was going on in prisons. Our schools were happening, and they went boom. You know.
See, what happens with the National Institution of Corrections, right? I mean, its general concept is a good concept, all right? But when you abuse power, then the abuse can cause a lot of harm. One of the classic examples is, you're all familiar with when the federal government insisted that states pass laws allowing turning right on red. If you didn't pass a law to turn right on red, you didn't get federal road money, which is blackmail. I mean, you're blackmailing people into putting legislation that they may not have wanted. And you're holding them up by saying, okay, we won't give you any road money. You can't repair your bridges, you can't repair your roads. Right. I mean, come on, that's blackmail. Now, what happens is, the same game got played here with the National Institution of Corrections. If you didn't adopt the policies and standards of the National Institution of Corrections, you didn't get any correctional monies. All right? So the National Institution of Corrections, contrary to what the Department of Corrections imply across the nation, dictates policy and standards across the United States. Good, bad feature to that. California prison system has gangs. Yeah. They have the Crips, they have the Bloods, they have Mexican gangs, they have all kinds of different gang situations in it. Massachusetts doesn't have any gang issues. And when the National Institution of Corrections put money out to prisons for gangs, Massachusetts jumped on this money and created 4 cell blocks, 180 men, as gang blocks.
With no gangs.
With no gangs, and filled these blocks up.
They made gangs.
They made gangs.
Yeah, right.
Some kid that had a little SWAT sticker on his hand,
an idiot,
became a white supremacist.
Aryan Brotherhood, right?
An Aryan Brotherhood.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Half Italian.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And in Massachusetts, 95% of the people that were in the gang block were Spanish. 6.8% of the population of the state were Spanish. Yet 98% of the gang block were Spanish. And what they did, I mean, it's just outrageous, the stuff they did. A Spanish guy came into the prison, most of which have a problem understanding and speaking English, and they had a renunciation form. And they would tell this individual, you sign this renouncing any membership to any gangs and stuff, and we won't put you in a gang block. Well, the guys didn't understand. When you sign this, you're renouncing membership.
And something you never
That
had.
means in order for you to renounce something, you had to be something and to be a gang member. And then the game would be that they would play, they need to fill these cells. So now they would take this poor individual and say, you was out in the yard talking to Father Russell. He's a gang member. So obviously, you're still active in the gangs.
Now you got to go.
Now you're going to have to go. But Father Russell, who you claimed was the gang member, isn't going into the gang block.
That's right.
I mean, it just got totally insane, and they put all these poor bastards into the block. The courts, I mean, there was like no nexus between the individual and